All right, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahushai Brakathum, Yahweh Shemal Atam Shem Yahushai. This is the ISUPK. It started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York in 1969 under Commanding General Yohanan. We're here to teach the truth of the Bible for so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians that they are the real Israelites according to the scriptures. Of course, it being our Friday Lashawan Qadash ISUPK San Antonio Ancient Hebrew class, we're going to be going over some more scriptures today. And I really like this set of scriptures right here because we do run into quite a few rules. I went ahead and cleaned this up and rewrote it. So we got our prepositions, possessive adjectives, stuff that you'll see as we fill in these words. And of course, we're going to break down the root words that you see in these phrases here so that we can piece by piece get an understanding on how to pronounce these words. And then, of course, what they mean. Okay. So we're going to jump straight into it. We've got quite a bit to do here today. So we're going to go to Psalm chapter 60 and verse 8. And I will, of course, be breaking down these scriptures as we translate them. Any particular scriptures that you have in mind from the Old Testament, put them in the chat. Maybe we could break them down in some of our upcoming classes. If you think there's some good vocabulary words that you want to review, you're more than welcome to post that in the chat as well as a recommendation. I usually like to find either a couple scriptures in the same chapter or, a couple scriptures that we could pinpoint that deal with the same subject to really get a good understanding of what's being said as we translate it from Hebrew. Because, of course, the Hebrew vocabulary is a little bit more simplistic than your modern vocabulary that kind of expounds on other languages from before to the point where you get to English as we're speaking it right now. So just keep that in mind. Hebrew is most parts supposed to be more simplistic, and that's what we'll be doing. We'll be trying to keep it simple, keep these basic principles of the Hebrew as we break down these precepts that'll help us understand why sentence structure is the way that it is. And again, getting that repetition so we could build a lot of of the understanding that we need to become more and more fluent as time goes on. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to use the Interlinear Bible to pull up this scripture right here. And that's going to be Psalm chapter 60. We're going to go to verse 8. Yeah, we're going to go to verse 8. So it's going to start us right off with one of the nations. We're going to start off with the nation of Moab. This is important. This is an important nation. We're probably going to put this in the vocabulary on this side here. But let's go ahead and break this down. So what this is saying is Moab. Now, Moab is a biblical nation that in modern time would be the Chinese and portions of the North Koreans and possibly even some of the South Koreans as well. A bit of intermingling went on between Moab and Ammon. Ammon being what would eventually become the Japanese. But Moab and Ammon are sons of, I believe it was Lot, whose daughters tricked them into laying with them. And so it's unfortunate, but that's just how they came to be, and that's why they got the Mongolian genetics that they have. So you got Moab right here, Mawa'aba. 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 That's how it's pronounced. So Moab in the Bible, again, is biblically the name for the Chinese. Let's go ahead and write that down right here because Moab is a major player on the political landscape of today. So we're going to actually take some time here to break down a little bit more about Moab. Let's go ahead and do that. Mawa'aba. Let's try to rewrite this one. Mawa'aba. Let's go ahead and pronounce it here. Ma, wa, a, and then ba. That's how it's pronounced. So let's go ahead and break down the definition. So Moab, what it means is, let me see, from that's crazy. So the origin of the word Mawa'aba is literally means from the mother's father. Mawa'aba. Now, how do you know that that's the case? When you actually look at the name Moab, you do have the name Abba in the name. We know that Abba, and this is another vocabulary where it's going to be one of our extra ones. Let's get this real quick. This is H4124. Mawa'aba. Mawa'aba. Why is it that it means from the mother's father? Well, we just got through explaining. And particularly Moab, the name actually means that. I think Ammon means a different name. But Moab literally means from the mother's father. And that's the crazy thing about how Moab came to be, because biblically speaking, again, Moab came to be because Moab's mother slept with her father to have that child, out of fear that they were some of the only, or if maybe possibly the only people left on the planet at that time. And what does that tell you? Because obviously there was the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, which is where they escaped from, where Moab's parents escaped from, right? And then being a direct family, that kind of makes it kind of strange, because this is literally a story about incest. It doesn't make it okay, but it is recorded in our record, and it's important to know that. In fact, like I said, the reason why they're even named that is because it literally means from the mother's father. Ma-wa-aba. Ma-wa-aba. It technically could be Maha-aba, because ha is normally used as the, but ma would mean from, which I believe that you actually see that right here. From. Ma means from as a preposition. But even though this is technically a preposition, vocabulary-wise, this is all one word. So just keep that in mind. But ma can actually be used to mean from when you add it to the beginning of a root word or a name or something like that, right? So let's just keep that in mind. From and father. Because we know wa means and. Wa means and. Or for. Okay? From or for the father. Okay? So that's really what it's saying. From or for the mother's father. Ma-wa Abba. That's just crazy. Abba meaning father. And that's actually how they came to be, because lots of daughters slept with their dad. That's just crazy. All right. So that's how they came to be. But the thing about China is that, this scripture actually kind of goes and explains more about Moab in these next few words. So let's go ahead and actually break that down so that we can get a better understanding about the kind of people that Moab is. Now it says Moab is, this is going to be great. Check this out. It says Sayar, which means my wash pot. But when you look at the translation, it could be called pot. You know what? I got to use the other one. Actually messed that up. It's not IR, it's Sayar. So this would look like this. My bad, let me get this right. Sayar. You understand? Sayar. And again, what that means is pot, cauldron. Cauldron. Moab is a pot or a cauldron. okay? Or a thorn, springing up rapidly. That's another definition. We're going to take those definitions. We're going to add that to this right here, because now this is actually it's interesting how that this. Oh, slug it. We don't have to do that. This is actually a part of the description of Moab. So it's saying Mawa'aba Sayar. So Moab is a pot, a thorn, or a cauldron. It actually repeats that same word in a different way right after that, where it says Rakatazah Ya. Rakatazah Ya, which means wash bowl. Wash bowl. Think of like a bathtub. A wash bowl and bathtub. Back in the day when people didn't have showers and stuff like that, they had a big bowl, a big pot, if you would, where they would wash themselves like a bird bath, basically. Have you ever seen a bird bath? It's kind of like that, where you have basically it's saying that it's the kind of wash bowl that's like a pot, meaning it gets dirty, okay? It gets very dirty. But also Sayar does also mean thorn, and the thing about thorns is that thorns build up very rapidly. In fact, that was part of the definition of that word right there, Sayar, which means cauldron, fish hook, pan. But the definitions can mean a pot, a hook, or a thorn as springing up rapidly. So thorns spring up rapidly. Moab, the Chinese, are the same thing. You know how you know? Because look how many people there are on the planet that are from that nation, Moab. Moab has a very large population. I believe it's like upwards of 2 billion people, which is substantially more than every other nation on the planet. So just like how it's describing Moab as a thorn that grows, a very dirty thorn, it's describing it as a wash pot, as something that you use to clean, or something that's damn near like a utility, something that is used for utility, and they grow in a very large number. Moab has become exactly that, because right now, with their imperial agenda of taking over the South China Sea, which would put the country of Taiwan directly at risk, Moab has become a thorn that has very quickly outgrown the land that they currently occupy. So at this point, what have they done? They've gotten even so far as building more land in the sea, making artificial islands to try to maintain some form of land growth to keep up with their population numbers. They've grown so much that they even had to pass a law. I think this had recently been removed, but there had been a law that you can only have one child if you were Chinese. That's how many people were going from Moab. They had to actually limit their population growth speed because it was outgrowing the land that they had, just like what happens with thorns. And so they're very dirty. They are a dirty people. They eat anything that they can. They eat dogs. They eat octopus. They eat stuff that you wouldn't even think about eating. They eat frogs. And the frogs still have muscle spasms while they're trying to eat it off the plate. And you see the legs of the frogs moving, and the frogs even looking up at the person that's eating it, and they don't even take the face off of it. It's really disgusting, honestly. It's damn near like how they be doing things, and I think it's like street food in India or some of these other countries where they just eat whatever the hell, man. It's just a crazy people. So you're actually seeing that the scriptures describing them as people that live pretty dirty, honestly. If you go to one of their cities are so compact because their population is so high that they live in very strange conditions, where an apartment might be the size of a small room. What we would consider a room would be the size of their entire, abode. And they're so compact where they're stacked high, kind of like the projects that would be in America, except even more compact, to the point where you're basically living shoulder to shoulder with somebody else. And that's how Moab lives, and they've become accustomed to that because their entire government has kept them in that mode of just being damn near like a slavery population. Okay, for those that are not in great power in the tribe of Moab or the people of Moab, of the nation of Moab, that they are basically damn near expendable because of how dirty they are as a nation. That they've gotten to the point where they're as if their own selves are a bugaboo for them because it's a thorn in the side of the growth and the expansion of the place. Banks are failing, the housing market is failing, but their economy is still very strong simply because of their labor ethics that allow them to become cheaper to manufacture a lot of goods rather than people doing business with other countries elsewhere across the world. The Chinese, they gain a lot of attention because of their ability to treat their people, because of their being a communist country. They treat their people in a way that is like as if they are trash, as if they are the bottom, sludge that's on the bottom of a pot, or like the scum that's on the bottom of a wash bowl. That's how they live their life. Now, just from 3 words, that's saying quite a bit. But when we start from the top here, Mawa Abba Sayar Rakatazaya, we're saying Moab is a thorn pot cauldron / wash tub / wash bowl. These people, they live in very strange conditions. Then it says, in another thought process, it'll go straight into another idea. And technically, you don't have a comma or anything like this, but it's going to change the subject. It's mentioned Moab in 3 phrases. Then it says over, which is Al, Adawam, this is Edom. Over Edom. We'll break that down here in a minute. We're going to probably use this as a vocabulary word today. It's going to be H, 1, 2, 3. For it to have a pretty low number in the Hebrew Strong's identification, it's interesting because we know Edom comes into play pretty quickly in the Bible. And so having that as one of the early vocabulary words, I feel like is, that this is a main character in the Bible, whether that be the antagonist or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. Ashalayak. Ashalayak. Shalayak. What's up? The root word right here is shalak. The root word is shalak, but we got shalayak right here. Okay, so this is the root word. Shalayak. And what's being said right here, it says, I will cast. It says, I will cast. Shalayak. I believe that the ya is being used to make it future tense, because he's saying, I will cast. So when he's adding the at the beginning of that phrase, that very well could be the preposition for saying I, meaning you are doing something, okay? That you're adding it to a verb that's making it say that whoever the author is right here, which of course is ultimately the Most High that's speaking here in this song here, because it's the Most High's words. He's saying I, but it does mean I. So when we're gonna write that right here, because we're just keeping track of these prepositions that we're using. So once we get to I can write it. Let's see. That's not coming out well. I'm gonna try using another marker because this one wants to act like trash today. All right, so let's get it going here. It's I. Like I said, we're just keeping track on how these rules all come together, seeing how consistent that we're able to use them across different scriptures as we break down these precepts. So now we're going to go and move forward to the next phrase here. It says, shala yak na alia. It says my shoe. Na alia. Root word here is na'al. Na'al. Okay, this is the root word. Shoe. Okay, what makes it belong to something, a possessive adjective that makes it add the word my, is by adding a ya at the end of this phrase. Okay, and so let's go ahead and write that on the board as well. We're running into quite a few of these rules today, so let's go ahead and get that ya at the end. And ya means my. You see that? It's pretty straightforward. Mawaba, Sayar, Ra Katazaya. Okay. Now, the other thing too is that the translation said Moab is a pot or cauldron of mine. Like when you look at the translation in the King James Bible, it says Moab is my wash pot. And so that very same rule does technically apply, because this should actually say, it doesn't say it in the interlinear, but it does technically have that as a part of the translation. And so the rule still stands, Ra Katazah. If I go to the root word here, Ra Katazah, this is the root word. My bad. Let me fix that because I did have that written. So here's your root word, Ra Katazah, Yah. Ra Katazah means wash bowl or bathtub. Yah at the end means my wash bowl or my bathtub. Okay, and again, it's basically what Moab is, because it is a place of filth. Oh, remember, a wash tub, a bathtub, is not a clean place. You have to constantly clean the bathtub because it is just receiving all of the filth and dirt from you throughout the day, throughout the days that you work and all that stuff. It's worse when you have to go to work or you do other things, working outside, exercising and things like that. You get a lot of dirt and things like that. So that all ends up on this wash bowl / bathtub. Okay. Keeping on here because we're going to continue. Al Adawam Ashalayak Na Aliyah. Over Edom, I will cast my shoe. Over Edom, I will cast my shoe. Now, what is that saying? When you cast your shoe over something, that means you're stepping over it. You're stepping over it. What is it that you step over? You step over dirt. You step over dust. You step over things that are insignificant. If you were to be walking in the grass and you happen to step on an ant pile, you understand, it could be problematic for your shoe, first of all. You stepping over it, it's almost like as if it's nothing to you. So think of it like that. For the greatness that, well, I don't want to say greatness, but the influence that Edom has at the present time right now in the world, the Most High sees him as nothing. It just looks at him like it's something to step over. You know what's the perfect something that you could use as a reference when you see the scripture? If you've ever seen, there's a famous clip from the NBA playoffs at a point in time where Allen Iverson, I think he was playing against the Lakers. I forget which team it was, but I know that it was a man named Tyronn Lue that he stepped over. Allen Iverson pulled up to the corner, hit a shot right in the face of a defender, and that defender fell to the floor in front of him in a way that Allen Iverson basically schooled him, because he was able to get the shot off, and it was a good basket that he made. And then Tyronn Lue fell in front of him, and then you very, very famously see Allen Iverson step over Tyronn Lue. And so in that particular case, when it says over Edom, I will cast my shoe, it's no different. Think of the Most High stepping over Esau the way Allen Iverson stepped over Tyronn Lue. Yeah, I think it was Tyronn Lue. Yeah, so think about that for a second. It's almost like a sign of disrespect. The Most High is actually disrespecting Moab and Edom. And you know what's funny about this? This is interesting because when you get to Psalm chapter, 68, where it talks about the Confederacy. Now I gotta look it up. Let me see. I don't know why I'm tripping. KJV, they are confederate against thee. 83, my bad. I don't know why I'm tripping. Psalm chapter 83. By the time you get to Psalm chapter 83, Edom and Moab are some of the first people that are mentioned as the confederacy that are the Most High's enemies. So for the Most High to be actually talking down on these two nations right here, it lines right up with what you see later on in the book of Psalm chapter 83. Okay? I don't know why the hell I forgot the chapter. I'm drawing blanks today. That's all good. So we're going to move on here. Let's continue to break this down here. So let's go back to the interlinear version. Okay. Now we're going to get over to where we got right here, where it says Aliyah Oh, it's like it. Cast my shoe because of me. This is another thought process right here. So I'm glad I moved it over to the next line because we have these three phrases that are talking about one thing, these phrases right here talking about Edom, and then these three are going to be talking about Palashath or the Philistines. So it's saying because of me. Okay. Because of me. Let me write that down. Because of me. Aliyah. Aliyah. Because. Now the word because, this actually has more than one meaning, but we're seeing it used right here. And this is being caused by the Most High, who's the author of this particular passage, you know what I'm saying, through the Spirit, had this particular scripture written. Yah means, again, the possessive adjective, my. So it lines right up. Al Yah, because my, or because me. Because of me. Palashath, which is Philistia. Because of me, Palashath, Philistia. This is another one of the nations. This is in the land of Syria, technically, though a lot of them did move closer to the land of Israel. And so now they've, of course, been oppressed by Edom over in Gaza. So it's quite interesting that through all these times they've been clashing and clinging against each other and dealing with each other terribly. Okay, but it's saying because of me, Philistia. Okay, it says shouts in triumph. Shouts in triumph. This is all one phrase right here. Now the word rawai, you don't actually see it completely right here because it just says rai. This is actually the root word right here. There's normally a y in between, but for this particular thing right here, it actually doesn't have that. So it's rai. It says shout in triumph. And that word rai means alarm or shout. Okay. But it also has the definition shout joyfully. Okay. So that actually lines right up with this right here about it being in triumph. Now, the rest of these other phrases that are added to it, I'll actually break that down right now. So it's ha-tha-ra-i ayah. Ha-tha-ra-i ayah. That sounds Native American. Let's start from the top. We're going to read verse 8 in its completion. Okay. Mawa'aba, sayar, rakatazayah, al. Okay. Adawam, shalayak, na'alia, alia. Okay. This is a different word. It's not the same thing as that. Alia, palashath, nathara'ai ayah. Nathara'ai ayah. Let's go on to verse 9. Let's start getting it rocking and rolling here. Maya means who. Maya means who. These are all bracketed. Yeah. These are all bracketed. Next phrase right here is Yabalan Yah. Will bring me. Yabalan Yah. Yabalan Yah. Root word here is Yabal. Yabal. Yabal is the root word. That means to bring. I'm going to underline this one right here. Yabal is the root word. That means to bring. Okay. Moving on, it says Ayar, which means the city. Who will bring me? And it's implied that there's actually a 2 here when we, you know what I'm saying? Who will bring me to the city when it's translated in English? But it's literally just saying, who will bring me to the city? It says Ayar. Ayar. I've also heard it pronounced Ayara, which means city. But Ayara technically is used to include the watching over of a city. Okay. And then it says Ma Tazawar. Ma Tazawar. Here's a great vocabulary word. Ma Tazawar, strong. Root word here is the entire thing. Ma Tazawar. Let's go ahead and get that. This is going to be Strong's 4692. Strong H4692. That is Ma Tazawar. I'm pretty sure we got a brother in the school named that. Would be surprised if we didn't. Ma Tazawar. Ma, I guess I'll just write it all caps. Taza War. That means fortified, strong. It also can mean siege. Can be used as a verb, can be used as a name. Can be used to describe the preparation of the city against, against invasion. So a lot of countries that are clamoring to get into NATO are going to be worried about pretty soon because Russia's moving in on a lot of them, starting with the Ukraine. I don't expect them to stop there. They could be looking at Estonia. They could be looking at Azerbaijan. They could be looking at Georgia, the country of Georgia, south of Russia. Ma Tazawar means either siege or besieged, but it also means fortified and it means strong. You understand? It could be like, you know how they even say cereal? They got fortified cereal with minerals. It's like fortified with minerals. It's not a regular cereal. It's Ma Tazawar cereal because you're getting your vitamins. It ain't just regular Cheerios. You know what I'm saying? They do put a lot of sugar in that, so you got to be careful for that. Now we're going to move forward here. It says Maya. It's the same one used right here. It means who. Who will lead me to Edom? Nachanya. 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 That's interesting. Where's it at? Okay. We learned something here. Nacha is the word lead. Nacha. Let's go ahead and get this one as a definition. This is an important rule that we're uncovering right now. It says nacha. Nacha is spelled na-cha with a ha at the end. Okay. Nacha. What does that mean? We just read it. It means lead or guide. Lead or guide. But there's something here that has replaced the ha at the end. If you look right here, nacha is the root word. This is how it's actually pronounced in its root form, to lead or to guide. We're not using all those characters. We're only using these two because there is something that's going on here that has happened right here as well. And that is what? That it is being transformed into a saying, sort of like a question. It's actually part of a question, but more importantly, it's referring to it in future tense. And so right here where it says Nabalanya, notice that this na right here actually is connected and replaces the end of the other phrase. Nakan, instead of nakha, it's nakanya. So it's basically saying the same thing. Who will, let me see if I can, oh yeah, I got to give myself more room right here. Will lead or guide me. So what are the rules that are being used that are putting this together? Let's go ahead and write this down up here because it's technically a possessive adjective. It's being added at the end of the phrase. So when you see a na, I'll slack it. When you see na, it's saying will, as in future tense. Okay? Whenever you see a na at the end. Now, that's just one of the rules. What's the other one? We just mentioned Yah means mine, but it can also mean me. Okay, let's just go ahead and write that. That way we can kind of clear that up. So, Nachanya, Nachanya. The Na means will, making a future tense. The Ya at the end relegates this leading or guiding to me or to the author. Okay, so keep that in mind. More of these rules that we're kind of breaking into as we go along here. Nothing wrong with that. That's perfect. So another vocabulary word for y'all. Two. That's all I get. I'd. Two. I'd. It's not Ida. We usually pronounce it as I. Adawam. And there goes Edom again. I wonder why they would be led to Edom. Who will bring me to the strong city? Who will lead or guide me to Edom? This is a very important scripture. This actually applies for those of you that are troopers, young men, officers, captains, generals in the school. This is an important scripture because it's actually, first of all, it's denouncing the nations that are mentioned, at least two of them, and I think the Philistines too, that are mentioned in Psalm chapter 83 that are the enemies of God. But then he's asking the question, who will bring me to the strong city? Or who will bring me to the city strong? The city that's fortified, the city that's sieged, the city that is prepared for war. There's no country or city more prepared for war than the United States. Though they have their army spread all throughout the four corners of the earth, they stay ready. And they technically say anywhere that their Navy vessels or anything like that goes, that's sovereign United States land. An aircraft carrier is technically part of the city. That's definitely fortified. In fact, they have an entire Navy fleet that protects it. And so he's asking, who's going to guide me to Edom? Who's going to lead me to Edom? Okay. That's what he's saying. I believe it was David that was mentioning this. Salakia. King David, through the Spirit of the Most High, is mentioning these things, talking down on these other nations, talking about how the Most High is going to lead him to Edom. For what purpose? Let's see what it says in this next verse here. So we're going to go to verse 10. Verse 10 is going to give us a little bit more insight on what King David is talking about. It says, Hala'ah, he's asking the question, is it not? Is not. Hala'ah. So la'ah is, of course, means no. No or not. La'ah means no or not. We're saying hala'ah. Ha means the. But in this particular case, we're actually seeing not only can ha mean the, if it's being used in a question, it may actually mean is. So we're seeing it saying the, and we're seeing it saying is. Hala'ah. And I believe that may particularly, when it's tied to la'ah, that it's saying that. Is not, and he's continuing with this question here, is not you, is not it, you, atha. We all know that word right there, atha, in its singular form. Alahayim, God, and this is, of course, the non-formal version of it because it's not saying Yahweh, but it is saying Alahayim. We know Alahayim means powers, okay? It is the Most High and his host. So it's actually giving credit to the Most High and his army, okay? Because Alahayim would be the ranking structure that includes the Most High at the very top that then gives orders to the rest of everything for the orders that need to be done, whether it be creation or destruction. And so, of course, he's going to mention it like this right here because it's almost like he's referring to what the Most High's arsenal is when mentioning being led to Edom. Okay? Za nakath nawah. Za nakath nawah. Za nakath nawah. So the root word here is zanach. Zanach. Okay? Zanach. This is the root word right here. This means to cast away, Cast away. But we got a couple things going on here when we look at the way this is put together. So when it's saying za na kath nawa, we know that zanach means cast away, but what it's translating to is it's saying who, in abbreviation, cast away us. The nawa is used to represent plural, our, or us. We've seen this already in some of the previous right here. Well, no, where's it at? I think we've seen it already. I forget where. But anyway, so we see it right here, nawa. Zanakath nawa. So we're saying who cast away us. Now he's actually referring to when Israel was destroyed and led into oblivion. It was because the Most High was not protecting us. And that's why it says it right here. It's actually going to explain it right here. So let's go ahead and continue. It says wala'ah and not. And we just seen an example of that where it says is not hala'ah. Again, the root word right here is la'ah. And the ha can mean the or is. Ada means you. Alahayim, just going to bracket the whole thing. It means the Most High. Wala'ah means and not and no. With the root word again being la'ah, which can mean no or not. It's saying the question, is not it you, the Most High, who cast away us and not did go out? So the word right there, tha-taza'ah, root word is ya-taza'ah, but tha-taza'ah is what you see here. So this is part of the root word that's being used. And it says, and not did go out. So while we have a word that means cast away, zanach, we got a word that means to go out, which is taza'ah. However, there is a difference because the root word is ya taza'ah in its root form. I didn't even finish writing this one right here. Na ka. Which one was that? Na ka. Oh yeah, it's lead. Lead or guide. You understand? Allahayam. It's again saying God. Ba tazaba'a wath yanawa. So what is this long phrase right here? Let's break it down. Tazaba'a is the only part of this that is the root word. Okay, so don't worry about all this quite yet. Okay, we're just gonna focus on what's in this bracket right here. Tazaba'a. This is the root word. If I had room, I'd actually put it on this too, because this is a really good vocabulary word. But I'll still write it. It's gonna be H6635. It means army. Actually, what? Slovakia. I got it right here. Tazaba'a. Actually, this is the first one I wrote today. Tazaba'a means armies, host, war, campaign, or service. So while it can actually mean army or host, it could also be referring to what they do, what the host does, which is a campaign, which is, you know what I'm saying, like a set of orders, a war, or a service. Okay. Armies do more than just kill. They can also provide relief. You understand? Like when we go and do boots on the ground is tazaba'a, which technically could be a word that we use to replace boots on the ground when we go and feed the homeless. We could say tazaba'a, which means army, but it can also mean service or campaign or war. When we go to camp, tazaba'a is an interchangeable word that could technically be used to mean deployment of that army. You understand what I'm saying? Tazaba'ah means army. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to see. But what it's saying is saying Ba Tazaba'ah Wath Yanawa. So what is all that? So it's saying with, there's Ba. Go back to the rule. When you use Ba, it means in, but this also can be used for with. Don't get confused too, because La can also mean with, but so can Ba. That's what we're seeing right here. All right. Wath makes this plural. When I say akwath, akwathyum, Salakia. When I think of malakwath, instead of malakyah, malakwath would mean heavens or heaven, which is basically multiple malaks, which is kings. So kingdom. That's where you get kingdom. Because king is malak, but malak wath would mean kingdom, meaning in abundance of. So wath, and this is how you know this goes right out here with yam, yan. Yan, of course, is feminine. Yam is masculine. Wath is being used to make this particular word plural. So tazaba'ah wath means armies. Tazaba'ah just means army. Tazaba'ah wath means armies. Yanawa, which means with our armies. That's why there's some space right here. With our armies. Okay. With our armies. So it's Ba Tazaba'ah Wath Yanawa. So the long phrase to know. Before we get to this last verse right here, let's go ahead and read what we got so far. First, let's read it in English. It says, Moab is my pot/cauldron, my wash tub, bathtub. Okay. Basically, he uses it to wash his hands. Moab is like a cleansing agent used to keep Edom in check damn near. When you look at how he's being implemented right now in the global landscape. It says, over Edom I will cast my shoe, meaning I'll step over Edom. I will cast my shoe over Edom. Okay. I will cast my shoe, meaning throw it out. It's no different than like, when I say cast, think of cast like when you cast a line when you're fishing. You don't throw the whole fishing line over. You say cast your shoe, you might think of it like you're throwing it away. But when he's saying cast your shoe, the shoe is still on the foot. And so it's still attached to you. You're just throwing it out, like as if you're getting ready to step over. It's the movement of stepping over, casting it out in that sense. Okay. So I'll cast my shoe over Edom is what he's saying. I believe that's David that's saying that. Because of me, Philistia will shout in triumph. Because of me, Philistia shouts in triumph. Who will bring me to the strong city? Who will lead and guide me to Edom? Is it not you, Yahweh or God, who casted us away and did not go out, the Most High with our armies? And what he's talking about right there is a period of time when Israel was actually cast away and the Most High did not protect our armies that went out. So he's asking the Most High to protect the army because there were times where Israel did not have the Lord with them for whatever reason. Maybe Israel was in a time frame where they were sinning. Maybe this was in a time frame where Israel had fallen off and was still having to deal with wars and things like that. And so there was a lot of turmoil and they were not successful because the Lord was not with them. But at the times when the Lord was with them, he knew there would be victory. And that's why he's asking, is it not you that has the strength to decide whether we are victorious or whether we fail? And that's basically what he is saying right here. To the chief musician, psalm or song of David. That's what he's talking about. And in verse 1, it even starts off by saying, oh no, that's the wrong chapter. Yeah, that's 12. Let's go ahead and hit up verse 11. And so he's further proving that he needs the Most High in this particular psalm, because this last scripture is an admittance that it cannot be done without the Lord. No different than nowadays when our people try to come up and rise up and try to have movements to try to go against this kingdom for the betterment of our people and the struggles that we have to deal with, you can't do it if the Most High is not with you. It doesn't have to literally be a battlefield. It could be, you know what I'm saying, all the different movements that we've had or that Black and Hispanics have had in the past that were not successful. It wasn't successful because the Lord wasn't with us. That's why those movements all came to a close, or they would have corruption, or they would have things that would be scandalous, that would mess things up. And so this is real heavy, because this scripture is an admittance that there's only really one way to be successful in any of our warfare. It has to be through the truth. It has to be through us being truly with the Most High on our side. Otherwise, there's going to be schisms. There's going to be issues. There's going to be problems that come up that make it seem like the Most High is not with them. The only way to know if the Most High is with them is, again, the results, right? And that's why it's not a thing of pride. We aim to be successful in everything that we do, because we're constantly making sure that we're purging and washing out any of our schisms that may be trying to come up with us, brothers battling demons, anything like that, that can mess with our warfare as a host, as an army. When we do these wars, campaigns, and services, no matter what it is, whether it's camp, whether it's missions to Acuna or El Paso, you know what I mean, whether it's feeding the homeless, the Most High is the one that's guiding us. And mind you, we're doing that in the strong cities. We're doing that in places of danger. Places that don't technically belong to us, we walk in faith and we walk in strength and confidence, because we know that the Most High is truly with us. Give me 1 second. I just need to, I think it was 4692. 1 second, y'all. And we'll close out the class with the last verse. I would like to take this time to remind any of y'all, brothers and sisters, that see this video, or anybody that is in the audience right now, to go ahead and try writing this down as best as you can. That's one of the reasons why I like to start the class without all of the blue markings, so that you just see the Hebrew, because it's going to be important for you to practice writing the Hebrew. Even if you don't know how to pronounce the characters, the fact that you're starting to write them down does, in fact, help. When it comes down to the point of studying that alphabet, and then, of course, starting to build that vocabulary, we got some vocabulary words right here where I have it written with the Hebrew phrase, and then the transliteration on how you pronounce it using English characters. So far today, we got Tazaba'ah, which means army, Mawa'aba, which is Moab, the Chinese, Ma-Tazawar, which means strong or fortified, and Nakah, which means to guide or to lead. Okay. Nakah. All right. So go on to verse 11. Verse 11 starts off with Haba'ah. Haba'ah. Yahab is actually the root word here. It's the technical root word. Yahab, which means to give. Okay. But right here, the way that it's written and again, we're just reading it through the interlinear, it's saying give. And it says Haba'ah. Haba'ah. Give. La Nawah. I wonder what that's saying. La Nawah is a way to separate this from any other particular adjective or verb or anything like that. And it's just saying us. Us. We know that because when we say Nawah, it means our or us. But when it's by itself, it's like saying to us. I actually read that here. Because again, when you have the preposition la, it means to or us. Or to or with. To us. With the root word being Nawah. Izarath is the next word. Izarath. Another very important word. This means help, assistance, or support. Izarath means help or support. Azara. Azara. Ma Tazar. Ma Tazar. Tazar is the root word. Tazar means trouble, distress. This is not only a question, and that's not only a song. This you can use as a prayer. You understand? Especially this part right here, this last verse, give to us support out of trouble or distress. So if you write this scripture down, verse 11, this could be a short prayer for yourself that you can say on your own time whenever you feel like this is something that you want to communicate between you and the Most High. You understand? Ma Tazar. Ma Tazar. Now, Tazar means trouble or distress. What does Ma mean? We see it right here. From. So when you look at the translation, it is from trouble. Please give to us help from trouble. Give to us help or support from trouble or distress. You can interchange these words however you want. Give to us support from distress. Give to us help from trouble. It is interchangeable. It pretty much means the same thing. Wa shawa'ah. Wa shawa'ah. Root word here. Shawa'ah means vanity or uselessness. Vanity or useless. Wa shawa'ah is saying for. For it is useless. Now again, when we say why, this follows our rule right here, because again the root word is shawa'ah right here. Focus on that right there. The wa at the beginning can mean and or for. Okay, and so it's the same thing. It's interchangeable, because if you were actually saying give to us help or support from trouble or distress, and it is useless, for it is useless. They're very similar, the way that you use that in a sentence. So think about it like that. It says for it is useless, meaning continuing the thought. Whenever you add and to the middle of a sentence, it's because you're adding to the thought. You're adding to the reasoning at the first half of the sentence or the precept. Give to us help or support from trouble or distress, for it is vanity. Okay. Tha shawa'ayah. Tha shawai tha. So like it. Tha shawai tha. Tha shawai tha. Interesting part about this is that this is technically a completely different word from here, but they still mean a very similar thing. The root word right here is tha shawai. It's pretty much all this right here. Tha shawai. The help. The word here is help, but even more importantly, and I think this is quite a bit more accurate to what this is really trying to say, salvation. Salvation or deliverance. Of man. Adam means man, mankind. The help or salvation or deliverance of man is vanity. That's why it's saying that. It's saying, give to us help from trouble, for it is useless, the help of man. It is useless, the deliverance of men. That's exactly why we say voting's not going to save you. You understand? Voting's not going to do that. Having faith in a president is not going to do that. That's no different than you trying to trust that Pharaoh was going to actually give a damn about Israel. Because again, This is why our school is so important. It's not just about reading the Bible and following the laws. It's understanding the world through the lens of the Bible. You wouldn't understand the vanity of mankind if you didn't know that you're in hell right now and that America is a punishment for the children of Israel that went against God's laws, statutes, and commandments for so long and have fallen away and have been casted away, where the Most High had not gone with us. This scripture is very personal to what we're dealing with right now. It's a great scripture. These precepts right here, they round out a lot of different things. They round out who the Most High's enemies are, a couple of them. It's giving you hope. It's asking for the Most High to rejoin us in our fight against the enemy spiritually. You understand? It's not telling you to go and pick up a gun in this day and age, but we know because there's other scriptures to back up what it is that we need to do in this day and time or right now is that though we go into the strong city of Edom, whether it be San Antonio, whether it be New York, Brooklyn, whether it be other countries, whether it be, anywhere we're being oppressed, okay, because Esau's influence is damn near encompassed the entire earth at this point, so there's really no getting away from it, that our people have a way out, that with the Most High, we're recognizing the time where the Most High was not with us, but we're then asking, of course, there's more scriptures that come after this that add to this. Maybe we can continue it in the next class. Give to us help or support from distress, for it is vanity, the help of man. We can't rely on our enemies, especially Edom and Moab. Can't rely on them to hold us down. You get a lot of your goods from China because people there are living like dirt. So good victuals are cheap while war is spreading across the earth. But the Most High says, over Edom I will cast my shoe, meaning I'm going to step over him at the valley of Armageddon. I'm going to bring him to nothing, as it says all throughout the book of Obadiah. You understand? All we're trying to do in our school is to show you that, but we're also showing it to you in the oldest language. The Lashawan Qadash. This is our language that we're rejuvenating back onto the earth. You understand? And our people waking up to the truth. It's a beautiful thing to see us coming back to our heritage. And so what we're going to do is we're going to close off the class today. We've read it in English. Now let's go ahead and read it in the Hebrew. We'll read it twice just for good measure. And we'll close out the class on that. We've done read Psalm chapter 60, verses 8 through 11. Let's go ahead and read it in the Hebrew now. Mawa'aba Sayar Rakhatazaya Al Adawam A Shalayak Na'alia Alia Palashath Hatha Ra'ai Aya Maya Ya Balanya Ayara or Ayar Ma Tazawar Maya Nachanya Ay Adawam Hala'a Atha Alahayam Zanachath Nawa Wala'a Tataza'a Alahayam Ba Tazaba'a Wath Yanawa. That sounded cool. Haba La Nawa Izarath Matazar Wa Shawa'a Tha Shawa'ayatha Adam. And as we continue to practice this, the flow will become more fluent. The understanding and the vocabulary word will become more cemented in our minds. And practicing the language, it'll flow over time to the point where we get to this is going to be everyday language. You think in the kingdom of heaven, we're going to be speaking hopefully something like a lot like this. I hope it is this. Hope I'm not doing this for nothing. You know what I'm talking about? Like I hope that it just reverts back to what it originally was, and this is as close as we've gotten to it. Okay, and so let's go ahead and read it one more time. Mawa'aba Sayar Rakatazaya Al Adawam A Shalayak Na'alia Alia Palashath Hathara'ai Aya Maya Yabalanya Ayar Ma Tazawar Maya Nachanya Aid Adawam Hala'a Ata Alahayam Za Nachathnawa Wala'a Ta Taza'a, Alahayam, Ma Tazaba'a, Wath Yanawa, Haba, Lanawa, Izarath, Ma Tazar, Wa Shawa'a, Ta Shawa'ayata, Adam. And that right there is Psalm chapter 60, verses 8 through 11. It's an honor of mine to be able to show you all the language and to continue to both build my own vocabulary in both studying and for teaching to the extent that I can to show y'all more of our culture and how it flows and hearing that language. You know what I'm saying? It may not feel that gravity, but the times where we have our feast days and you see us all speaking that language together is where it really starts to hit. I want to make that our everyday experience, you understand? And our original language that we can all unify under is something that is definitely necessary in this day and time, because a lot of Israel throughout the four corners of the earth are speaking other languages. But if there's a language that we can come back to that'll bring us all back into that ancient spirit, it's got to be this one right here. It has to be. You understand? And with that, this is the ISUPK. It started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York in 1969 under Commanding General Yohana. And we're here to teach the truth of the Bible that so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians are the real Israelites according to the scriptures. With that, Shalom, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barakatam to all the brothers, Yahweh Shamar Alatan Bahashem Yahushua to all the sisters. Shalom.